And good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Fletcherholics, as Sean likes to call students that really love us and love their hobby. And welcome to this Throwback Thursday. Um, and a couple before we get started, yesterday was they call it Star Wars Day because it's considered, if you're a Star Wars fanatic, it's considered May the Fourth be with you. If you're a Star Wars fan today, that means today is May 5th, so it's Revenge of the 5th. Anyway, has nothing to do with today's show. But welcome to our Throwback Thursday, and all that means is we're going to go back in time, and like we usually do. We play a lot of the great classics of music of yesteryear and what have you. But it also means we're going to go back in time to feature a model. And if you read the email, it said it was game-changing model, and this is the Lowry Royale. Ooh, do I hear some oohs and ahs? I can't hear you, but I could see you lip syncing the oohs and ahs.
Oh,
So I'm going to open up with a number here, and I'll just I'm going to make it up as I go. So here we go. We'll start off with we'll go back to the 50s and start off with a little rock and roll, everybody. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you. Hold the applause, please, please. Well, by the way, before I go any further, if you're wondering what I was doing up on the screen, on that style, if you use the rock and roll 50 swing rock, kind of sounds like this. Now listen closely. When I go to auto bass 2, it does this. Okay? What I did is I put in the keypad 1 and then auto bass 2, and it turned that bass into this. Kind of that bumble boogie piano sound. That was pretty cool. And as I mentioned, I'm playing on the Lowry Royale, and we said it was a game changer. Why? When it was introduced, it introduced so many amazing features that we still use today. So if you have a Prestige, an Aria, a Marquis, or Liberty, and everything in between that came out after, a lot of the features you're going to hear about today were features that started on this model that you use today. But one of the best things was all of these great signature styles. One of my favorite signature styles, well, I might say that a lot. I might say this is my favorite quite a few times. But this was a fun one here because in the big band category, for those who like the big band music, for years Lowry had a lot of great big band styles. When the Royale was introduced, they finally introduced a big band style that people had wanted for a very long time. And as you're familiar with, there's a style called the train, which is kind of like a bluegrass Country Train, and that was out for quite some time. And after much feedback from the consumer and the customers and the students, they said, you need to make a style like this. And this style is simply called the swing train. So for you Glenn Miller lovers, and I don't know if you know who Glenn Miller is, but based on looking at the pictures here, it's a little bit before your time. Your mom and dad may have told you about Glenn Miller, one of the greatest big band conductors and leaders. Here we go. Swing train. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The beautiful Lowry Royale, everyone. Now, I also love that when the model was introduced, as you could tell, it had that beautiful classic cabinet that a lot of people love. This one here happens to be what they call the country oak. And of course, it had, like many of our top-of-the-line models, a roll top. And of course, for some of you who need the music a little closer, this was the first time they introduced a music rack that came out almost 6 inches. They could have made it a little bit closer. I think they stopped here because if they kept going a little closer, it would become a chin rest, and they didn't think that would be fun. But they made it as close as they could where you could still have the view of the panel. You can put your music here, or you could put your music up here, whichever you prefer, making it very easy. Now, I don't know if you could see the bench in that angle there. Let's see if I can. I also like the way the style of the bench was. Let me just temporarily do this. And here we go. Oh, look at that. I like this because, you know, I can sit here, and on each side, on the right side and the left side, there's a little drawer here. You could have your discs, or you could have your, you know, your gin and tonics or coffee or water. That's not really what it's designed for. So a lot of cool things were this was the first time they introduced a bench like that. Now I have to see if I can get this angle perfect again. Let's see, without cutting my head. Was that good? Joni? You're saying something? Sean? Anybody? How's that? Am I back to normal?
Wonderful.
Okay. And of course, again, some of the greatest, funnest, is funnest a word? It is now. Styles were introduced on this instrument. And here was one that it's interesting because it was introduced on this model. I don't hear it a lot, and every time I use it, I always get, wow, I didn't know I had that one. Where is that? It's such a really cool style. Actually, I think, Jerome, I think he's out there somewhere. I know you love this style. The style's called soul ballad. And it's just such an elegant style. Whenever I play this style, I feel like playing the song, a Ray Charles song. Here we go. Isn't that a pretty style? If you don't use that style, that's a great style. And you could play so many great songs with that. Now, this was also the first time that Lowry introduced a touchscreen. So if you notice, I keep going up to the screen, touching it, doing things. Now, show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the name Paul Schaub? Okay, a lot of you. As you know, Paul Schaub, who's retired, worked for the Lowry organ company for many, many years. He was an artist, but he was also had the nickname the Professor because he was a great clinician and what have you. I actually had the privilege of having Paul Schaub introduce the Royale in Tucson to our customers here when it was first introduced, and it was very clever. What he did, and it was like one of the first shows, so we didn't know what he was up to, but after the subsequent shows we knew. But in the beginning of the show he came up and he said, "Robert, I need you to get a bunch of 3x5 cards." I said, "Okay," and we put them all out on the table. And he had everybody take their card. It was a little 3x5, and he said, "Write down, touch, and scroll." And everybody wrote it down. And he said, "Okay, put it in your purse, put it in your wallet, put it in your pocket. Don't lose that. There is your owner's manual." And everybody looked at him and laughed. And he said, "No, today's show, we're going to show you how you can operate this instrument just by touching and scrolling." And you know what? Still to this day, whenever I want to discover new things on an instrument, that's all I do is I touch the screen and I scroll and I touch and scroll. And that's how easy it was compared to the previous models. And then the subsequent models thereafter, the touchscreen works very similar. So what was great about the touchscreen? Many things. This was the first time they introduced song setup. So if I used song setup, this actually has 500 song setups. Now, I can see many of you. I know many of you have an instrument like this or larger or more of an elite model or the newer versions of it. But we actually have 500 song setups. Could you believe that? And I'm going to do a couple songettes here and show off a couple song setups. This was the first time they introduced some very loved styles. For example, I scrolled to the M's and it says Mr. Sandman. So when I touch Mr. Sandman, this was the first time that the Sandy Man style was introduced. Did you know that? You didn't know that. You're going to leave here with a wealth of knowledge. And if you ever decide to go play on Jeopardy, this moment may come in handy. And so I'll play a little bit of Mr. Sandman, and I'll show another. This was the first time they introduced Sandy Man, the style. Mr. Sandman on the Lowry Royale. And of course, as I was going through the scrolling here, I saw one here called Peg on My Heart. And when I put Peg on My Heart, it gives me another style called Harmony-Cats. Yes, I could see the looks on your faces. The Harmonicats, when they, can't believe this, when they went on the Ed Sullivan Show, they played the song, and hence they became very popular after that. But this is the arrangement that the Harmonicats did. Harmonicats, taking my heart on the Lowry Royale, please. Oh, they always get a big round of applause. Now, the other cool thing was, now many of you are spoiled by this because it's almost second nature when we do it. So we pick a rhythm style, right? We have a song that we want to play, and we put on a rhythm style. And I'll switch gears here, and I'll do a little bit of country music here. Let's see. Oh, this is a fun one. This was introduced on the Royale. It's called Rinky Tink, all right? And what you all do is we usually have rhythm preset on. Did you know that the Royale was the very first model that introduced the concept of rhythm preset times 10? And here's what I mean by that. The previous model, the generation, had a rhythm preset button, and then the flagship model had 3 of them, just 1, 2, and 3. This was the first time they took rhythm preset, and the 10 buttons gave you 10 additional rhythm presets. Now you all have, well, I don't want to say you all, but most of you, if you don't have this on your instrument, see one of us, you definitely want to get one of these features. And it's really cool because I have the screen tells me the type of sound. So I'm looking at the screen. It says organ sound, string sound on number 4, solo. So as I'm playing this little country style, I'm just going to push this screen up, the preset information, and just pick what I see on the screen. Here we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Please hold the applause. Oh. Now, and sometimes it's the little things that do quite a bit that we may take for granted, or maybe we don't take for granted. But many of you, if you have seen me on a lot of my Song of the Month classes or a lot of the classes on these series of instruments, this next feature I'm going to mention is something that I tell people to use a lot. Actually, we all tell, a lot of the teachers and the educators say, use this button if all else fails. So for example, what I'll do is I'll pick a rhythm style like, let me think here. Oh, here we go. This was introduced called Vegas Big Band. All right. And we have a couple ways we can do this Vegas Big Band. It's really clever. But the first time this was introduced, there was a button here called Alter Style and Drum Variation. Okay? And actually, before I do the Vegas Big Band, this was a new style on this, but before Vegas Big Band, here's a style that many of you are familiar with. It's been around since the early 90s. Now just listen to the introduction and just raise your hand if you're familiar with this style. Now, some of you are smiling. Some of you are going, yeah, you know that. It's been around a long time. I don't use it a lot because, and then when you listen to it, while the band is playing, it's really perfect for in the mood. So if you're playing in the mood, watch. Here we go. So in the background, those slide trombones kind of complement the melody of that. But a lot of people don't want to play in the mood, so what Lowry did is they introduced this feature called Alter Style. Yes, did you know that the Royale was the first time they introduced Alter Style? Now, many of you have this feature, and you probably use it all the time. But what's clever about it is all those styles that are signature styles, what have you, if you just want to use it and play something totally different, listen to the difference. Here we go. So here's a style that's been around for years. Alter style changes a little bit. Ooh. If you're doing New York, New York, I use it a lot for New York, New York. It makes the difference of the band going from this to the big finale. Stop it. I only played a little bit of piece of that. Now, going back to the Vegas Big Band, I'm going to use Alter Star partway through, but I'm going to have some fun here because in the introduction, you're going to hear something a little bit different. Now, here is Vegas Big Band, the style as you know it. Boy, that's Boogie Woogie. That's fun, too. Here's Vegas Big Band. Here we go. But if you put on drum variation and you play a minor chord, you get this. Ooh, let me start that over again. That's fun. This was the very first time that Lowry introduced minor introductions. What does that mean? Over the years, any organ can do an introduction whether you play a major chord or a minor chord. But what happened was this was the first time they took the style, and with the introduction, if you played a minor chord, it gave you a totally different introduction. So it's almost like having two different styles of music. So here's the C chord. Which is great. If you do the minor chord, and then I'm going to put on drum variation, I bring out Gene Krupa. Now what's really cool on this, partway through, I'm going to ask Gene Krupa to do a little solo. You know, Gene Krupa. And Buddy Rich is also in here, so I'm going to have him do a solo as well. Listen. That's just a touch bar. The drum variation is on. Oh. Drum variation off and you get Buddy Rich. Here we go. Now you don't have to make that face. I don't know why I'm making that face. I feel like you have to do it when you do that. Thank you. Oh my God, I forgot how many cool styles and sounds and features this thing has. You almost want to get one for your other bedroom, don't you? Okay, slow it down a little bit. This is one of the cool things over the years. Obviously, as newer models were introduced, they always add new styles. And the category that's always been tricky for me has been waltzes, because some of the waltzes I like, some of them I kind of just depends on the song that I need to play. This style to me, this waltz is still to this day one of my favorite all-time waltzes. Now, I'm going to jump a little bit out of season here, because you can use this waltz for any waltz that you love, or if you want to play and then during the sounds of the season, the holidays, there's a lot of holiday and Christmas songs that are in 3/4. The style's called lullaby. I've used it for Silver Bells. I've used it for Silent Night. I've used it for What Child Is This? It's just a great style altogether. So, and again, I'm just using the rhythm presets on the instrument. So here we go. Isn't that pretty? Lullaby. Now, let's get to show off a few of the preset categories here. So, we have bank category presets, and we have bank presets, and then category presets. Now, this sometimes gets overlooked, but you all have, if you have this category, I would encourage you to check it out, because the A bank, what it does is it gives you 10 great traditional Lowry organ sounds. The B bank gives you 10 great Hammond-like organ sounds. The C bank gives you 10 traditional church pipe organ sounds. E is the novelty, what they call novelty. I always call it the Spike Jones type sounds. And then the D bank is like a symphonic. They have pianos and the cellos and violins and strings, and I just love it. So what I'm going to do is a combination of showing off the D bank along with a fun style that was actually introduced on this model. So let me get it ready here, and it's actually under the polka category, and I'll just leave it right there. But I'm going to start off with the D bank, and what's really cool is the first preset, you get this beautiful piano concerto, so you can have these wonderful, wonderful full grand piano sound. For those of you who love the sounds of the pianos. Now, in the rest of the sounds, you have these beautiful strings, pizzicato strings, cellos, and this is just amazing. I don't know why I'm making that face. Violin Concerto. Oh, this way. And of course, the full string ensemble here. And this was the first time we introduced the folk wedding style. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, wow. This live, oh, I better put my phone in airplane mode so when the phone rings, I don't get any other calls. Tell a joke real quick, Sean. Too late. There we go. Oh, I'm having fun. Are you guys enjoying yourselves? I can't hear you. Yeah? You having a good time? Some great music?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, you know, you might even be learning a thing or two along the way.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I have some more fun styles and sounds to feature for you, but let me come on over to our category presets because they introduced new categories here. Actually, the previous models had some of these, and then they added a few more, and then they changed a few. And one of my favorite ones was the Latin category. And I'll use that in this next style here. We'll have a little fun with this here. Let's see here. I'll put on, ooh, this was a fun style. I love it. Mambo. But the Latin category was really fun because when the Royale was introduced, it was, to me, the first time in the music history that I've experienced that the individual instrument sounded like the actual instrument. So in other words, the trumpet was an actual trumpet for once. The Spanish guitar. It's an actual guitar player playing. And of course the vibes and the flute. So I'm going to use some of these sounds with this mambo here. We'll have a little bit of fun. Here we go. Tequila. Okay, there we go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Woo. Oh, I'm just having a great old time here. It's like reminiscing too. When this first came out, I was just so wow, blown away by so many of the cool things. Anyway, I got to play another one now. This one here, you should be familiar with. Many of you should be familiar with this. It's it's just a fun style. And one of the first songs that people learn in the hobby is not just Mary Ann, but in the first group of songs, Mary Ann is one of them. I think "Ode to Joy," and a couple other handfuls. One of the songs in our Conductor Magic is "When the Saints Go Marching In," and I really thought this was very clever because this particular style, if you play "When the Saints Go Marching In," right out of the Easy Playbook, as it's written, nothing too fancy. The fill-ins in the background complement the melody so perfectly. And the style is called Razzamataz. And I know some of you are probably shaking your head going, yes, I'm familiar with that one. This was when it was introduced for the very first time. And so I'll play it a couple times through, and then I'll have some fun using some of the other features that I showed you. Here we go. Woohoo! Something so simple can make it sound so great. Isn't it fabulous? Now, I know some of you are thinking, because I played country, I played some Latin, I played some, beautiful soft ballad music. I did all. But what about for those of you like maybe spiritual, gospel, and there's two types of, there's the little more serious traditional, and then there's a little bit of the more hand stomping, feet clapping. Wait, hand stomping, feet, hand clapping, feet stomping. That'd be kind of weird. Hand stomping, feet clapping. Well, that wouldn't look too weird. Okay, you saw it live right here on our Zoom musical. So, for those of you who like some of the traditional, I said it earlier, the C Bank is really cool because it has some of the greatest pipe organ, church organ type sounds. And then I'm going to switch over and do our kind of what I call the hand clapping style, and we'll kind of do a little bit of both ways. So here we go, more traditional. By the way, if you use the C Bank, the sounds go from soft to big. Just going to go 1 through 10. Thank you. Now, a couple of things before I finish up with a final number here for you. First of all, a couple of other features that were introduced on this model that if you're not using it, if you have them, you should be using them. First of all, this was the first time we introduced a two-touch bar concept, and there were up to, when this came out, was up to 16 different things. You can program the glide here. You can program a tap tempo. You can program a minor chord to do it. You can even do diminished chords here by using one button, one touch, and it'll do the diminished chord for you. You could also do what's called the next preset. So what I should have done on that last one, instead of reaching up, is put on the next preset, which allows you to change the presets. As you can see here, changes it for me. So if you have that feature, it's definitely worth using. On the screen here, it also gives me the access to all of the sounds that are programmed. So if I just touch Genius, it shows me all of the sounds that are there, so I never have to guess. Again, it also tells you the types of sound you have, and there's just it was such an amazing introduction, game-changing, as we said earlier. I have one other final song. This is kind of fun because I never really learned to play this song properly. And I'm going to just get it set up, and then I'll explain it to you in a minute. Final number here for you. This one's kind of fun. The style, you're probably maybe familiar with it. You may have heard someone. It's called Classic Western. I always called it the Hi-O Silver song. I think it's actually called something else. But this song, if you ever saw someone that actually played it the way the notes are, you have to have a really good finger technique that rotates the fingers You kind of stutter it, and I've never learned to do that. And I just figured out one day, if I just let the instrument do the work, the strumming in the background, and I hold the notes, it still sounds like the High O Silver Song, also known as William Tell Overture. Watch, and I'll let you see while I'm doing here. Ready? Here we go. High O Silver! The Lowry Royale! Oh, built-in applause for everything. The Lowry Royale, everybody. Well, I thank you for joining us today. We hope you had a wonderful time. And as always, stay safe, keep playing music, and if you have any questions, call your personal assistants right away. Call now.
Robert, great job. Great job.